down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Ladies and gentlemen, man, I'm excited. People ask me all the time. I was at the local real estate club meeting. What is this investor weekend? Who are these speakers? Where do they come from? What is this all about? Well, first of all, Investor Weekend is a once-a-year event that just changes people's lives, changes my life. Not only that you have the opportunity to connect with another person that's in the trenches like you are, or even find a mentor, but you learn for 2 days, it's like on steroids, dating on steroids. It's like going to the gym and you're sore. That's Investor Weekend. And how do we pick these speakers? Where do they come from? Well, I've been following this gentleman that's on the phone right now. His name is Brian Nix. I've been following him before we were even friends, and I'm honored to be his friend. I'm even honored that one day he called me and said, hey, man, you want to ride in my boat? You want to ride in my boat. And Brian is an author. He is a friend. I have sold property to him. He's never sold me any property. There's a problem there, but we'll let that slide on this call. And he is passionate about helping people that have buckets of cash and helping real estate investors acquire assets with this thing called private money. And people get confused about private money. I just had someone ask me, what is a self-directed IRA? And I always get I don't get confused. I think I'm confused that people don't know. Private money is like an individual that is acting like a bank and is loaning you money. For example, Mr. Brian Nix is on the phone. Mr. Brian Nix has money. I'm broke, VanCauwenbergh. I need to get a loan. I don't have time, or my credit's not good, or for whatever reason, I call Mr. Nix and say, can I borrow $50,000 to buy this $40,000 house? He says, why 50? We have a conversation. He wires the money. He puts a lien on the property. And he loaned me private money, and every time I write the check to not Bank of Oklahoma or Bank of America. I write that check to how Mr. Nix wants me to write it out. So is that a good way to say private money, Mr. Brian Nix?
Yeah, that's a good depiction of it. I mean, typically how I easily explain it to individuals is that the relationship is pretty much the same as an institutional lender, except, like you said, instead of me writing the check out to Bank of Oklahoma or Bank of America, it's to, Joe Blow or maybe Joe Blow's IRA.
Okay. And so, you had a real job, you left the real world to be a real estate investor, and you've really focused in on private money. Why do you still focus on private money? And first, let's go. Why do you focus on private money and not bank money? And if you're going to talk about this on the 21st, I don't want to ruin your speech, your presentation, but tell me, why are you in love with private money?
Let me back up a little bit, just tell you how I started in general, and then that kind of leads me into how I discovered private money. Long story short, whenever I was dating my wife now, but my high school sweetheart, her parents were a realtor team, and I was introduced to real estate through them. Didn't really do much with it, although the seed was planted. Fast forward a couple of years, I had graduated college, accepted a position that I really wasn't too happy with. And one night I was sitting in my recliner and a late night infomercial came on and talking about real estate and all the different opportunities in real estate investing. And it really got me fired up to do something with it. So I bought the kit and tried to learn everything that I could about it. And it introduced me to private money. Tried to do some deals, didn't work, actually moved back to Oklahoma City, plugged into the local RIA club, which I highly recommend. And not long after that, I met some good friends that held my hand through my first few deals. On my fourth deal, I backed into private money. I didn't realize it. What had happened was the seller that I was dealing with, I had assumed that they were the legal owner of the property. In fact, they weren't. So when the title was being updated, they said, this person doesn't own it. It's this person over here. So that, the light bulb came on at that moment that, hey, this person that I was trying to buy the house from had private money on this house. Well, through that transaction, I obviously had to deal with the legal owner of the property who had lent the money to this person, so to speak. And so that's when my wheels started turning about private money. I realized you don't have to go to the bank to get a loan to buy a house, you can go through a person. So we completed that transaction, and on that deal, my source of funding was institutional funds. And so, however, on the next deal that I did, what did I do? I called this lady up who had financed the other guy. I said, hey, I know you loaned him money. How about you loan me money? And she said yes. As it turns out, she was a longtime real estate investor that had quite the portfolio, had started liquidating most of those and was sitting on a bunch of cash and no longer wanted to own the house. She was okay with owning the notes. And so that's where it started. And fast forward beyond that, she and I did several deals together. She funded several hundreds of thousands of dollars of real estate for me. And that's how I arrived on private money. And then from there, we started scaling it, really developing my program. I wanted to, clearly articulate to a prospective lender what it was that I was offering, what kind of deals I'm doing, and what kind of money they can expect to make off of me.
So was it easy for you, the least resistance? Like I didn't go that direction because I thought I couldn't do it. It seemed complicated. Is there special paperwork? I, focused on banking. It's like we're yin and yang. You're really good at private money, and I love banking money. Why haven't you pursued the other side? Is this just real easy for you? Is this comfortable for you? And how could you teach someone else? Like what can you show us? How do you do it? How do you get it? I mean, tell me, first of all, answer that question first. Is it easy for you now? Was it hard for you in the beginning?
Well, it wasn't too hard in the beginning. You can keep it pretty simple, and there's, a fraction of the paperwork than what you would have with a bank loan. And full disclosure, I do have some bank loans, and in the beginning, I did have some bank loans. And so I learned the paperwork and what it takes to get a transaction done. And so once you kind of have that framework, then, it's pretty simple to put together the paperwork when you're dealing with an individual. Why I like it, the ease of use is incredible. There's been occasions, and I don't always recommend this, but once you're up and you know how to check title and make sure that there's no clouds and things like that, you can fund deals. I have fund deals the next day. That's probably not going to happen with a bank loan. So especially in this competitive environment, if you can move that quickly, it can really help you get some deals.
So you like it because you don't have the rigmarole of getting an underwriter to say yes or no, this is a good deal. You can just determine a good deal instantaneously, and you go from there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, unlike, most traditional lenders where you have to prove you don't need the money to get the money, with an individual, you literally just, here's what I've got, this is how much I need, this is what's in it for you, and it makes sense. Most of these folks are pretty sophisticated. They can imagine themselves on the other side of the table, than whenever they bought their house. And so it kind of makes sense to them. And a lot of them just don't realize that real estate can be an investment vehicle for them. They don't have to own, the deal with the tenants and toilets. They can own the note, and it's, truly passive income for them.
So is there a criteria that you look for in a private lender, and is there a criteria on their side? Do they just loan money? Why do people loan you money? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's interesting you ask. I had assumed for a few years that the reason why they were loaning me money was because of, the good return that they get. But for a different presentation I did, I actually interviewed a couple of my larger private lenders, and all of them, to my surprise, said the number one reason that we're loaning you money is the trust factor. And so yes, I mean, the interest is good, but, they're more concerned about the return of their money, not on their money. And so it starts with trust. And that's the thing, is that it boils down to credibility. What you don't want to happen is to approach somebody that knows you but has no idea you're doing real estate, or there's no credibility there, and say something along the lines of, hey, I want to buy this house, you want to loan me some money. The trust factor personally might be there, but they may not be willing to put their money where their mouth is. So Yeah, that's what it boils down to, is trust and credibility.
So now in your business model, is that what you think about when you go put offers in? You know that you're going to get deals, or you know that you're going to get funded, and have you established enough private lenders? Do you tap them out? What goes through your mind when you're about to make an offer on a deal?
Well, at this point, I've been doing it for a while, so I've been able to grow my network of private lenders. So yes, if I put an offer out there, I know I can fund it, and sometimes I can fund it very, very quickly. So that's a nice benefit to have, is not to have to worry about, okay, what's underwriting going to say if I send this deal across their table. There's none of that uncertainty, so that makes it really nice.
Do you have a specific group of private lenders that you like to use, or are you constantly looking for more private lenders? How does that work, or how do you organize that?
Yeah, I'm always looking for more private lenders. I joke and say that what I truly am is a professional fundraiser. I'm always looking for more money, because the more money you have, the more deals you can do, and just kind of further increase your security as far as knowing that you're going to get a deal funded. The types of people I'm looking for, typically, I draw a distinction, and let me just kind of define my terminology here, because sometimes private money and hard money is thrown around interchangeably. You've got, obviously, your institutional funds, which is the bank, and then outside of that, it's private money. Well, you've got private money, which can be, cousin Sally or your friend, or you have hard money. That's non-institutional funds, but those are professional lenders. It's typically, you have to fall into their rules, and it's their program, and that's what they do. They loan money, versus what I call private money would be just people with money that want a good return on their money. So, for example, the types of people that have loaned me money, I have a couple of attorneys that have loaned me money, a couple of business owners, retired people, my wife's nail lady, and then her dad. And it's whoever you meet. And that's the beauty of it, and it kind of makes it fun, is because anytime you're out and about at a party or, a kid's sporting event, whatever it is, if you strike up a conversation, it won't take long before it comes up. Hey, what do you do? What do you do? And then it's an opportunity to plant the seed. And it's not that you're going to convince everybody to loan you money, but if they're already thinking about their retirement and their investments and things like that, and now you present an opportunity of real estate, which is backed by a hard asset, which is very attractive to a lot of alternatives, the conversation flows from there. And if there's interest, you'll know, because the conversation goes really well. And once you kind of warm them up to the idea, then you can close them on the next step of something along the lines of, hey, if I get a deal that comes up, you want me to give you a call? Pretty non-invasive, non-threatening question, but if they say yes, then you've got a pretty good prospect there.
That's awesome. All right, man. Tell us what you're going to talk about on Saturday, the 21st of 2018 of April. Tell us. What are you going to break off?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about what private money is and go into a little bit more detail as to what we discussed and why I like private money. I'd mentioned that you can do deals very, very quickly. I'll get into more details there. Where do you get it? What do you say? That's a really big question I am asked a lot whenever it comes to raising private money. And then how do you treat them? Okay, so now you have them. They've loaned you the money. You've bought the house. You've done the project. How do you take care of them? It's a really big deal. Like going back to what I said before, trust is a huge deal with these folks, and you don't want to screw it up.
That's awesome. Man, I can't wait. It's not that far off. And I really appreciate your time, man. I'm glad that you were able to answer my call. And, I know you're busy. That's why I wanted to just randomly call you and get it on tape.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to seeing everybody at Investor Weekend.
All right, man. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.